I'm joined here today by the one, the only. It is, of course, Tony Gravely, who I found out just recently made the big move to Florida, is now training at American Top Team, but does have the fight coming up. So far, he's taking on Anthony Birchak. Sort of a short notice one. What's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm doing great, sir. Yeah, I can't complain at all. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for asking. How's everything in Florida, man? I know it's hot. I mean, I assume in April it's a little bit hot, but not crazy yet. How's everything going with that?
It's great. I love the weather. I love warm weather. So
Yeah.
it's warm all the time. We had like a minor cold, but not like the winter of like Virginia's not bad, but it's definitely not as cold as here as it is in Virginia. But I enjoy it. It's a lot different. With people are a little bit different. I'm used to like a smaller town. It's a bigger town, so it's more people, more city, and people aren't quite as friendly overall. Like in general, like
Yeah.
there's some great people here and at the gym that I know, but like in general, you go into like out in the public grocery store and stuff, people aren't quite as nice as other places. But I'm getting used to it. I'm just learning that that's them. I'll just keep being as nice as I can and as mannered. And if that's on them. If they don't want to do that,
Do you get any comments on your accent at all? Like people are like, "Oh man, where are you from?" Like, do you tend to get that a lot?
I do. I do sometimes. Like usually, um, I guess here and at the gym they make fun of. Even though it's not very like country, we got another guy, Jason Eastman from the gym. He's from Mississippi, so
Oh,
his is a lot thicker than mine. My wife's accent's pretty thick, but mine. When I go up north, they ask like, "Where are you from?" Like when I would fight up north for CS, they'd ask where I was from. Like, "You're not from around here?" I was like, "Nah, I'm from Virginia."
yeah.
So yeah, like, sometimes I do.
Yeah, for sure, man. Makes a lot of sense. How is it? How is it at the gym at ATT though? Because you do have like a lot more people, I assume, to train with. I think that's the thing a lot of guys realize when they move to a bigger gym. It's like, wow, the abundance of training partners.
It's amazing. You will never be without, for one, a training partner, two, a phenomenal training partner. Like
Yeah,
there isn't anyone that you can't benefit from in the gym. And especially my weight, 125 and the 125s and 135s, I train with a lot of those guys. So and we have so many good people across the board in different promotions. Last night we had Adriano beat Demetrius Johnson, which we knew Adriano. We know he's like
yeah.
amazing. Other people, don't quite see that because they're all, everybody's stuck on Mighty Mouse. They understand what he's done throughout his career and across through the UFC. But him, Kyoji Horiguchi, we got a lot of guys that are in the UFC, like Alexandre Pantoja, Pedro Munoz, Marlon Moraes, and then some other guys that are, working their way up as well. So we have a lot of tough guys to work with, and it's like I couldn't be more fortunate to have all those people to help make me better.
So, what was your reaction watching that fight last night? Obviously, as someone that's at your gym, I'm sure you're very happy. But he didn't do that. Like it wasn't like a decision that was close, right? Like that one, it was like you left no doubt shocked. I mean, the whole internet went crazy. What did you think as you're watching that one?
I lost my mind. I jumped up and down and ran up and down my in the condo in here, and my wife was like, "You're gonna get a noise complaint." I was like, "I don't care. Do you understand what just happened?" And I was so loud that both of my cats like ran into the room and were afraid of me because I was so loud. But it was crazy. For like probably the rest of the night, I kept walking around. I was like, "Oh my god." And I kept like trying to explain to my wife how big of a deal that is. How not that we all know at the gym, we know what Adriano can do, but the way he did it, like I knew if anybody could beat him, it was Adriano, but it was dominating. He won the first round. The first round was close, but Adriano was on top for the last 2 minutes and won the round. And in the second round, he drops him, finishes him with the knee and punches, and that's pretty dominant.
Here, hold on. Give me 1 second. I just had a wire unplug. Oh, sorry about that, man. Give me 1 second to
That's
fix
okay.
it. All right, there we go. All better now. All right, hopefully it should be fixed. All the wires should be in place. Everything should be straight.
Okay.
So the big talking point coming out of the fight, even going in, was like how much taller, how much bigger Adriano looked, right? Did you guys realize that the size difference was that noticeable?
Um, I guess kind of, but when you actually see it, like I've never, obviously we hadn't seen the two. I don't think they had ever been around each other, so we knew he was short, and he's actually probably shorter than me, and I'm pretty short, and
Yeah.
Adriano's also taller than me. So, but Adriano actually, they kept talking about how big Adriano was. Adriano really doesn't weigh a ton. I weigh more than Adriano, and I don't even weigh that much. I think Adriano walks around at like think like 145 or so, 146 or somewhere around there, and that's about what I walk around at 148 or below. So he looks very big. He's very thick looking,
Yeah.
but somehow he's also very lean. So he looks big. I always tell him like you look bigger than me. But he said he only weighs like in the mid to high 40s every now and then, but I didn't realize how tall, like how I knew he did have a reach advantage and a height advantage, but when you put them side by side, it's like, man, it was pretty significant.
It's funny you mentioned the weight things. I saw people like, "Oh, this guy's a middleweight. This guy's a welterweight." I saw some crazy stuff, and now you're saying it, and it's like, if we really wanted to go without weight cutting, we'd be like, I guess he's a featherweight. You could say that, but it's crazy to find out he's not as heavy as I guess people would have guessed just from looking at the pictures.
Yeah, it's very deceiving. He looks big and he can feel big when you're grappling him. He knows how to distribute his weight and be heavy on top. And but yeah, I saw those comments as well, and I was like, man, if they only knew, like, he really isn't that heavy. He looks heavy. He knows how to feel heavy, but he's really not, that heavy.
So let's talk about your fight a little bit, man. Because originally you weren't supposed to take on Birchak. Now you are taking him on. What kind of happened in that period? Because I know right now things are really weird about guys falling out, fights getting rebooked, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was originally supposed to fight Nate Maness, and I think maybe a couple. It wasn't that long between the gap between him being injured and then them Burchak being scheduled. So I just remember, my manager called me and was like, Manus is injured, so they're going to find a replacement. And I figured they would find a replacement. Everybody, for one, there's a ton of people on the roster, and two, everybody would want to fill it. Like, there's so many fighters that would want to fill in. So I was pretty confident they would find someone. And it's kind of a difference in the heights too. Like, the height difference would have been probably how Adriano looked compared to Demetrius Johnson. As far as the height with Manus, Burchak is still taller than me. Everybody's taller than me, but not as long as Manus. So, and then also just kind of completely different styles. Manus is more of a striker, more of a boxer. I think he might have some wrestling, but Burchak, I think, seems to be more of a grappler, wants to, get to the ground. And, I'm okay with that.
So how does your training camp change when you have something like that? Because obviously you're preparing for one guy, you work on your stuff, but you have to prepare for him as well. How does it change when you find out you have the new opponent? And even in that in-between period where it's like you're training and you're in camp, but it's like you don't know who you're fighting.
It really didn't change any at all. There's so like in the gym, there's so many people that are different heights, sizes, skills, everything. So my coach Steve Bruno, he said, doesn't matter who you train with, just train. Everybody in here is good. Of course, you can look at height differences and things like that, but I don't really train to change anything for an opponent. It's more of just getting myself better everywhere, so it doesn't matter. And I remember asking him, I was like, is there anybody? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, should I be sparring and working with people that are longer? And then I was like, nah, it could change, like, and I swear, like, a couple of days later it changed,
Yeah.
so. But there's so many people. I try to go with everyone and get feels from everyone, because you never know when it's going to change. And also, it just, the more you can adapt and learn how to adapt with different bodies, one person could fight one way coming out, and then the next round they could switch it up and be southpaw or something, something like that. So getting to go with like all these different people from all over the world, all these different promotions with different skill sets only benefits you.
So ATT, I don't know if you were here for this, but there was a while where there was kind of some drama going on, right? Everybody was talking about the same guys, Covington, Masvidal, all that stuff. Were you kind of there for any of that stuff, or did you see that things were blown out of proportion? Like, what was kind of going on gym wise, like kind of behind the scenes that you can share with us?
That was actually before I moved here,
Right.
so I don't really have too much knowledge of that situation.
There we go. Dustin Poirier, he's preparing for Conor McGregor. What's everything kind of looking like at the gym? Because it's so big, there's so many people. But is that someone that you get to work with at all?
I don't physically work with him because he's a lot bigger than I am, but he is on the mat. At times when we'll have practice. There's pro training where everybody kind of does a group session. Then everybody has their own personal things where they work with their specific coaches that they have that they work with, or individuals with a lot of the coaches here. So I haven't actually had the chance to work with him, but I've been on the mat with him multiple times and, been around him and things like that, but never actually physically worked with him.
Well, it's gonna make it tough for you too, being in the lower weight classes. Like, there's a lot of guys, like, there's gonna be a big size difference between even just 145, 125, stuff like that. I assume at ATT though, you've got a bunch of you just named off like Horiguchi and stuff. There's a ton of guys for you to train with at the lower weight classes.
Yeah, there's a ton. Like we have between 125, 135, it may be a total of like 20 or so, just in that 20 to 25 roughly, in that just in that those two weight classes. So usually, fortunately, I'm not drafted to ever like go against like spar or grapple with like the bigger guys.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I'm shorter too kind of makes me look even smaller. So they don't really, I don't get put with them. Every now and then, like you do like a 4-man group or so or something, and like there may be like one guy that's I might have to go with somebody that is 145 or 155, but it's more of like grappling. It's not like ever really like spar hard with any of those guys. It's more of like it's more grappling based if I ever had to go with somebody that was much bigger than me.
So let's talk about this fight with Birchak a little bit. You touched on it a little bit. He's more of a boxer, more of a stand-up style. But how do you like the matchup heading into this one?
I like it. I think that he seems like I won't have to chase him. I'm a forward pressure fighter, and I feel like he's the same way. And I don't have to worry about having to chase him and close the distance. And also the apex cage is small too, so I don't think we're going to have any trouble finding each other, whether it be striking or on the ground. So I like the matchup. I feel like my last 5 or 6 fights have been grapplers, like black belts. So I mean, it's very it's very similar to something that I've been around a lot. And at the gym, everybody at the gym is a good grappler. Everybody, especially my weights, the smaller guys, they're all really good grapplers. So it's something I'm accustomed to is going against really tough guys and tough grapplers. So I like the matchup.
I assume for you that's gonna make it exciting too. Like, we know, like you mentioned, you don't have to chase him and stuff. That's a guy that's gonna meet you right there in the middle. I mean, when you look at it, does it make you excited just looking at the possibility of this fight?
It does, because I like action. I can't stand in a fight. It's always like a gap of before you touch each other, the gauging and that, I just want to get in there um and get my hands on them, as quick as I can and start getting to work. And it's something that makes me more excited when I know somebody's going to engage me. Um, it's easier to get the fight going faster that way than to have to chase somebody around for a couple of minutes and they're circling around, which there's nothing wrong with that, because if that's your style, that's your style. But I like to get in there, get my hands on them, whether it be striking or grappling, wrestling, whatever. And but I think it'll happen pretty quickly with this fight.
And so, one last question for you. It's an easy one. It's an obvious one. You're going to hear it a million times, so you get to hear it here as well. But how do you see yourself getting your hand raised in this one?
I think in the second or third round, I'll get a finish by a TKO or knockout. I feel like my pressure is just too much for him. I feel like He's a pressure fighter as well, but I feel like my pressure is just more. You know, I feel like I can keep the pace longer than he can keep the pace, and it's going to come down to whoever is a tougher fighter, the more conditioned fighter, and I think that's me. And I think I'm going to wear him out and finish him in the second or third.
All right, well, there we go. Heard it here first. It's gonna be a very exciting fight, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much for the coverage and the platform.